Jacob, my husband and CEO, smirked from behind his desk. Congratulations, Caroline, you're done. Take your old laptop and get out. This $8 million company is mine now, and Melissa's taking your place. Divorce papers arrived tomorrow, security stood ready, and they escorted me out. I smirked, knowing my secret code would trigger in 10 minutes. It would bring their world crashing down. Jacob pushed the termination letter toward me, his wedding ring glinting in the sunlight. Melissa stood close, her hand resting on his shoulder. Effective immediately, he said. Security will walk you out in 10 minutes. I looked at the man I'd built a company with for 8 years, the one who vowed to love me forever. My phone buzzed in my pocket. The timer I'd set 6 months ago had just pinged. 10 minutes. That's all they had before everything unraveled. Let me back up and explain how we got here. 3 years ago, Jacob and I sat on the floor of our tiny Seattle apartment. Empty pizza boxes and coffee cups littered the space. Rain pattered on the window as we scribbled ideas for next-door solutions on grocery receipts. My fingers danced across my laptop, coding, while Jacob paced, tossing out ideas. What if we could predict security breaches before they happen, he asked, eyes sparkling. Not just fix them, but see them coming. I pushed up my glasses and grinned. Give me 3 months, and I'll build something groundbreaking, I said. He kissed me, right there in our messy makeshift office. This is why I love you, Caroline. You make miracles happen. Those early days were electric. We worked 18-hour shifts, fueled by cheap sandwiches and grit. Jacob handled investors and clients, I lived in the code, crafting our platform line by line. We were a perfect team, or so I thought. Our wedding was a quick courthouse affair during our first product launch. I wore a $200 online dress, and we squeezed it in on a Tuesday. No time for a weekend off. At the altar, Jacob held my hands and whispered, "We're partners in everything. 50-50 in business and life. Your dreams are mine." I believed him completely. Nextdoor grew fast. Within 18 months, we left our apartment for a gritty warehouse office with concrete floors. We hired staff, landed $1 million deal, and our dream became reality. I thought it belonged to both of us. The shifts were subtle at first. Jacob started cutting me off during Monday meetings, rephrasing my technical updates. What Caroline means is, he'd say, dumbing down my work. When I called him out, he brushed it off. I'm just helping, honey. You get lost in the details. I let it slide. Then, during client demos, he'd present my work while I sat quietly, like a prop. Caroline's our tech genius, he'd say with a condescending smile. She works her magic backstage. Backstage is where he wanted me. When Melissa Rodriguez interviewed, I was thrilled. Finally, another woman in our male-heavy team. She had an MBA and Microsoft experience. Her references were stellar. She's perfect, I told Jacob. She'll fix our operations. He hired her the next day. Melissa jumped right in. She organized our files, streamlined client processes, and even fixed our messy supply closet. She brought cookies and remembered birthdays. I thought she was a friend. Then the late nights began. First, a big client pitch. Then, sales restructuring. Then, quarterly planning. Always urgent, always with Jacob and Melissa. Go home, Jacob would say at 7 o'clock. Melissa and I are finishing revenue projections. Don't wait up. I'd drive to our new suburban house, eat leftover takeout, and fall asleep on the couch. Jacob would slip into bed at 2 a.m., reeking of her perfume. You're imagining things, he snapped when I asked about it. That's a common perfume. You're paranoid. Was I? I started doubting myself. Maybe I was just exhausted. Maybe the company stress was clouding my judgment. Jacob loved me. We were partners. Right? The September board meeting should have been my moment. I just boosted our platform's speed by 300%. Clients were thrilled. But Jacob called it a team effort led by our tech department. Investor Richard Thompson raised an eyebrow. Led by Caroline, you mean? Jacob laughed. Of course, she's our CTO, but this was collaborative. I sat there, silent, betrayed. That night, I lay awake next to Jacob. His steady breathing felt foreign. This wasn't our company anymore. It was his, and I was just an employee who shared his bed. I started watching closely. Melissa always stood near Jacob, touching his arm when she laughed. He said we about decisions, but it meant him and her, not me. I told myself I was jealous, insecure, like Jacob claimed. But deep down, I knew my life was crumbling. I just wasn't ready to admit it. That October day started normally. I grabbed Thai food from Jacob's favorite spot, balancing bags as I swiped into his office at 2:47 p.m. I checked my phone to avoid his 3 o'clock call. His door was ajar. Voices echoed from the conference room, including Jacob's laugh. His meeting had moved. Perfect. I set the food on his desk, but Melissa's open laptop caught my eye, her email on display. The top message preview stopped me cold. Can't wait for this weekend. The cabin is perfect. From Jacob. I hesitated, then scrolled. The next email read, once Caroline's out, we can restructure everything. The Thai food smell turned my stomach. I sank into Jacob's chair, reading email after email. For months of messages revealed their affair and their plan to steal my company. Jacob wrote, the board trusts me. I'll say Caroline's unstable, her work's slipping. They'll back her termination. Her 48% ownership won't matter if she's voted out for cause. Melissa replied, I've documented her aggressive behavior when she questions you and her absences when she works from home. We've got enough. I snapped 23 photos of the emails, my hands steady despite my racing heart. Footsteps approached. I closed the laptop, unwrapped the food, and played normal as Jacob entered with 2 executives. Honey. His fake warmth made my skin crawl. What a nice surprise. Thought you'd be hungry, I said, smiling for the others. I left, claiming I had to debug code, and vomited in the parking garage. That night, I watched Jacob scroll his phone, chuckling. Was he texting her about their cabin weekend? In the dim light, he looked like a stranger. You okay? He asked, not looking up. You were quiet at dinner. Just tired. The new protocol's tricky. Maybe take a break. You're pushing too hard. Another jab at my instability. I turned away, my mind racing. They were plotting to oust me. How long did I have? The next morning, after Jacob left for the gym, I got to work. Not on company code, on protection. I documented every contribution I'd made, every line of code, every innovation. I backed up everything to encrypted cloud accounts Jacob didn't know about. I bought a tiny voice recorder, paying cash, feeling like a spy. But it worked. I recorded Jacob claiming my ideas as his in meetings. I captured him telling investors I was just tech support while he was the visionary. The hardest part was pretending. Kissing him goodbye, sleeping beside him, acting like I didn't know he was betraying me with Melissa and stealing our dream. Some nights, I coded until 4 a.m. while he slept. Not destructive code, not yet. Just safeguards. I hid tracking markers in every system I'd built to prove they were mine. I added undetectable backdoors to the platform, not to sabotage, but to secure my authorship. Every line was precise, invisible in normal operations. You're overworking, Jacob said one morning, finding me asleep at my desk. Maybe we should lighten your load. Another step toward their goal. I began therapy with Dr. Patricia Reeves in Tacoma, far from work to avoid familiar faces. I paid cash, used a fake last name, and shared my pain with a stranger who offered tissues and said I wasn't crazy. Gaslighting, she explained in our third meeting. This is classic emotional manipulation. But what if I'm wrong? What if I'm just paranoid? She peered over her glasses. You have photos of their affair and scheme. That's not paranoia. That's seeing the pattern. November became December. The company holiday party was excruciating. Jacob and Melissa kept a professional distance, but their glances betrayed them across the crowded room. I wore my best dress, smiling until my face ached, playing the perfect wife and CTO. Caroline is the heart of our tech team, Jacob said in his toast. I caught the past tense, not is innovating, just is, like I could be swapped out. 2 weeks before Christmas, I overheard them on a conference call. I dialed into a board meeting early, and they thought the line was clear. After New Year's, Jacob said. January's the time. Fresh start. Divorce papers. Same day? Melissa asked. Rip the Band-Aid off. By February, you're COO, and we can stop hiding. I muted my mic and took notes in my encrypted journal, listening as they planned my personal and professional downfall. January. Less than a month to prepare. That night, I coded until dawn, not on company projects, but on my safeguard. Every NextScore system had a pulse I knew by heart. I didn't build destruction. I crafted vulnerabilities, tiny gaps only someone like me could exploit. The kind hackers pray to find. I wouldn't use them directly. But if Jacob thought he could strip everything from me, he'd learn that included my knowledge of how to shield what I'd built. Without me, those gaps were like open windows in a storm. Come to bed, Jacob called at 4 a.m. 5 more minutes, I said, finishing the last line of my insurance policy code. He was snoring when I slipped into bed, my laptop still warm. I stared at his sleeping face, feeling only determination. They thought they were clever, tracking my instability and plotting their takeover. They had no clue what I could do when pushed. I closed my eyes, counting down to January, when the facade would drop, and they'd see who they'd underestimated. January loomed, but my mind kept replaying earlier signs. Red flags I'd ignored or brushed off. Now, with betrayal burning in my chest, every memory looked different. In early August, I was excluded from a board meeting. I'd spent weeks preparing a technical presentation with visuals to show investors our predictive analytics breakthrough. That morning, Jacob brought me coffee and a pitying smile. Board meetings changed, he said, placing the cup on my desk. Richard Thompson wants only financials and market growth. Dull stuff. No need to sit through 3 hours of numbers. But I always present tech updates, I said, puzzled. Richard asked about our algorithm improvements last quarter. His jaw tensed briefly. I'll cover it. Investors get jittery with too much tech talk. Better to keep it simple. I spent that afternoon in my office, watching the clock, feeling adrift. Jacob returned, vague. Went great, he said. They love our direction. 2 weeks later, I bumped into Richard Thompson at a downtown coffee shop. His unease was clear. Caroline, how are you holding up? He asked, his tone cautious, like I was fragile. I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be? He shifted, glancing away. Jacob said you're under a lot of stress, needing to recalibrate. Recalibrate? The word stung. Richard, I'm sharper than ever. Did Jacob share the predictive analytics breakthrough? He said you're working on something. His voice was guarded. But he's worried about your intensity. Brilliance and burnout can look alike. I wanted to yell. Instead, I smiled, left my latte untouched, and walked out. Small financial oddities appeared. A consulting fee here, a software license there. Not huge, but tied to vendors I didn't know. I found them late one night, reviewing quarterly reports for my next board presentation. Global Tech Consulting, $47,000. Never heard of them. Their website was slick but vague, offering no real details. Integrated Systems Solutions, $31,500. Another shadow company with no clear trace. I printed the records and confronted Jacob the next morning. "Why are you digging into financials?" he asked, eyes on his screen. "That's not your role. I own 48% of this company. Everything's my role." He sighed, like I was a difficult child. "These are normal expenses. Consultants for expansion plans. Want to micromanage or focus on what you're good at? I want clarity on where our money's going." Our money. He met my gaze, eyes icy. "Funny. The code's your platform, but finances are suddenly our money." The argument exploded, ending with him storming out. That evening, Melissa stayed late to mediate, sitting with perfect posture and a fake concerned look. "He's just stressed," she said. "You both are. Maybe stick to tech and let him handle business. It'd be easier." Now I see how calculated it was. In September, Jacob pitched a restructuring plan as a natural step for our growing company. His PowerPoint showed him as CEO, with me as CTO reporting to him. "It's just clarifying our roles," he told senior staff. "I manage business. Caroline handles tech. It's cleaner for investors and clients." "We're co-founders," I said, hiding my fury. "Equal partners." "Absolutely. This doesn't change that. It's about efficiency." Tom from sales nodded. David from marketing agreed. My own dev team stayed silent. The groundwork was laid long before. Everyone bought it as logical, necessary, overdue. Melissa, taking notes, chimed in. "Jacob's plan makes sense. Clear hierarchies cut confusion and speed decisions." "Since when do founders need hierarchy?" I shot back. Jacob's smile was condescending. "Since we grew from a 2-person startup to an $8 million company." The vote was set for the next board meeting. I spent weeks seeking support, but every talk felt like hitting a pre-built wall. Melissa's influence spread. She joined my client calls, introduced as our operations strategist enhancing client relationships. During my tech demos, she took notes, asking questions that undercut me. When Caroline says revolutionary, she means incrementally better, she'd say to clients, all helpful and professional. "We're setting realistic expectations." She copied herself on emails with my dev team to stay informed. She held one-on-ones with my reports to understand their challenges. She brought coffee to morning stand-ups, playing the caring leader while I was cast as the obsessive tech nerd. The isolation cut deep. Sarah, our lead developer from year one, skipped our Tuesday lunches. "Super busy," she'd say, avoiding my eyes. Marcus, our database architect, stopped brainstorming with me. He sent formal emails, copying Melissa, seeking approval for decisions he once made alone. Even the admin staff grew cold. Break room chats stopped when I entered. The camaraderie of 3 years vanished like fog. In November, I overheard 2 junior devs while grabbing printer paper from the supply closet. "Did she really have a breakdown in the parking garage?" one asked. That's what I heard. Jacob's been patient, but it's hurting the company. Melissa told us to be supportive but keep professional distance. Yeah, she's been great at guiding us through this. The situation. That's what I was now. Not the co-founder who built their platform, but a problem to manage. I sat in that closet for 20 minutes, surrounded by paper and toner, realizing how thoroughly I'd been outplayed. Everyone had been fed a story about me, and I'd been too deep in work, too trusting of Jacob, to notice. That night, I watched Jacob at dinner, slicing his steak precisely, checking his phone. He'd gained weight. Client dinners, he claimed. Now I wondered if they were with Melissa. The team feels off lately, I said. Maybe you're projecting, he replied, not looking up. Been taking those walks Dr. Reeves suggested? My heart stopped. I'd never mentioned Dr. Reeves. What? He glanced up, face blank. You said a therapist suggested exercise for stress. Had I? I couldn't recall. The gaslighting made me doubt my own memory. Right, I said, eating quietly. The last board meeting I attended was in December. Jacob barred me from presenting, but as a major shareholder, I could still sit in. I sat at the table's end, watching Jacob call my work team efforts while Melissa backed every claim with documents. Richard Thompson and the investors barely glanced my way. When I tried clarifying a tech question, Jacob cut in. Caroline's spot on, and our documents confirm it. My expertise sounded like his echo. I left knowing my professional murder was done. In 2 months, I'd gone from visionary co-founder to unstable liability. Everyone bought it because the lie was crafted so slowly, so carefully, it felt like truth. That night, with Jacob asleep, I opened my laptop. My code wasn't just protection now, it was justice. Lines flowed like poetry, each one sharper than the last. 3 days before it all ended, at 2:14 a.m. Monday, I saw our platform do the impossible, predict a future attack before it launched. Pacific Financial Group, our second biggest client, nearly faced disaster. Our algorithm spotted 17 vulnerability points in what seemed like normal traffic. The pattern revealed a coordinated attack set for 6 hours later. I called their security head from my home office, waking him. Tom, get your team online. A breach is targeting your wire transfer protocols. Caroline, it's 2 a.m. What's this about? Check your Singapore and London servers. The probe traffic looks routine, but it's not. They're prepping a synchronized attack at 8:24 a.m. Eastern. Silence, then typing. My God, you're right. How did you? This is massive. I guided them through defenses, my fingers racing across the keyboard. By 5 a.m., their system was a fortress. At 8:24, the attack hit and failed, repelled like rain on steel. At 9 a.m., Paul Harrison, Pacific Financial CEO, called, ecstatic. Caroline, you saved us from a $100 million loss, maybe more. This is game-changing. The platform did its job, I said, tired but thrilled. This is Nextcore's purpose. We need a call with Jacob and the team. This deserves a press release. My heart sank. Sure, Jacob will set it up. I prepared a detailed presentation for the afternoon client call, showing how our algorithm predicted the attack, the modeling behind it, and its global impact. This was world-class innovation, born from my mind, my code, my sleepless nights. Jacob reviewed my slides an hour before. Too technical, he said, frowning. I'll simplify it for the client. He deleted my slides, replacing them with buzzwords. My algorithm became our threat matrix. My modeling became advanced analytics. 3 years of work turned into corporate jargon. During the call, Jacob took center stage while I sat off-frame. Paul, we're thrilled Nextcore protected Pacific Financial, he said smoothly. This is what our team's been building toward. Amazing work, Paul said. Caroline, that 2 a.m. call, you were like a fortune teller. Jacob cut in before I could speak. That's our system's strength. It lets our team proactively stop threats. Caroline was just on duty last night. I hadn't slept in 36 hours, perfecting that algorithm. There was no duty roster. This was my life's work. Actually, I began, but Jacob talked over me. Caroline's too humble to admit it's a team effort, Jacob said. She handles the tech, but our whole team drives the platform's success. Melissa, our operations lead, crafted the protocols for this quick response. Melissa joined the video call from her home office, nodding politely. Thanks, Jacob. It's about having systems to back our tech team's brilliant work. Support? She didn't even grasp how the algorithm worked. For 20 more minutes, Jacob skillfully shifted all credit from me, framing my work as following his vision. By the end, Paul Harrison likely thought I was just a coder executing orders. After the call, I sat alone in the empty conference room, staring at the blank screen. My greatest achievement was stolen in real time, and I couldn't stop it. That night, I finalized my preparations. I uploaded proof of my authorship of Nextcore's core tech to an encrypted cloud account under my maiden name. Patent applications I'd filed before the company started. Original code with time-stamped proof. Early emails where Jacob admitted he couldn't follow my tech explanations. I also copied the real financial records, not Jacob's polished board versions, but the raw data showing where money really went. Global Tech Consulting was linked to Melissa's cousin's apartment. Integrated Systems Solutions led to a Delaware shell company with no staff. They weren't just planning to steal my company, they'd already been siphoning money. Wednesday, I met Sandra Whitfield, a divorce lawyer, in her Bellevue office, away from Seattle's tech scene. Her sharp eyes had seen every kind of betrayal. Washington's a community property state, Sandra said, reviewing my files. Normally, assets split 50-50ths. But your husband's clever. The company records list you as a contractor with equity, not a co-founder. Your name's off the incorporation papers. That's impossible. We started it together. She showed me altered documents, my signature intact but my status changed to employee, updated 2 months ago. He's planned this for a while, Sandra said softly. Proving fraud changes everything, but it's a costly fight. How costly? More than you'll have once he freezes joint accounts, which he'll do when you're served. I wrote a check from my secret account, built from small consulting gigs Jacob didn't know about. Start the case, I said. I'll handle the rest. That night, Jacob suggested dinner at home. I'll cook, he said, looking briefly like the man I loved, the one who debugged code with me all night, celebrating every win. He made my favorite, pasta carbonara, and opened a special bottle of wine. We sat at our garage sale dining table, the one we'd refinished together. Remember when ramen was all we could afford? He said, raising his glass. Look how far we've come. We built something incredible, I said, clinking my glass to his. He took my hand. Things have been tense with the company's growth. It's been tough on us. But Caroline, you're the most brilliant person I know. Past tense? I brushed it off. Let's take a vacation after this quarter, he said. Somewhere tropical. Just us. Sounds perfect, I lied, watching him lie to me. We washed dishes together, like old times. He washed, I dried, our rhythm still perfect. When we finished, he pulled me close and kissed me. For a second, I mourned what we'd lost. I love you, he whispered. I know, I said, unable to say it back. That night, as Jacob slept, I ran through my checklist. Code set. Documents secured. Lawyer hired. Everything was ready. At 3 a.m., I slipped out of bed and walked our house one last time, past wedding photos, our first office, our first big client signing. Moments when I thought we were a team. I made coffee and sat in my home office, watching the sunrise. In 6 hours, Jacob would summon me. In 6 hours, my life as I knew it would end. But he didn't know about my phone's timer. He didn't know about the waiting code. He didn't know I understood his systems better than he did. I opened my laptop, typed one command to trigger at 9:10 a.m., then closed it. I finished my coffee and prepared for my final day as Jacob's wife and employee. I wore my charcoal gray suit, the one from our first investor pitch. My hands were steady buttoning the jacket, applying lipstick, slipping on the watch Jacob gave me for our 5th anniversary. Every detail was armor. At exactly 9 a.m., Carol, Jacob's assistant, called, her voice uneasy. "Caroline, Jacob needs you in his office now." "It's important." "I'm coming," I said, grabbing my old laptop bag, coffee stained from our startup days, and walked through the office, head high. Developers glanced up as I passed. Did they know? Had the gossip spread? The elevator to the executive floor felt endless yet too fast, each floor ticking closer to Jacob's stage drama. Carol avoided my eyes, staring at her screen. "Go in," she muttered. "They're waiting." They, plural. I opened the door we'd installed together, its familiar squeak unchanged. Morning light poured through the windows, framing a calculated scene. Jacob sat behind our mahogany desk, bought at an estate sale when we dreamed big. Melissa stood to his right, her hand on his chair, claiming ownership. She wore a bold red dress. Message clear. Gary Hughes from HR hovered in the corner, clutching a folder, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Caroline, sit," Jacob said, using his practiced CEO tone, calm but distant. I stayed standing. "I'm good, thanks." His eyes flickered with irritation. I wasn't following his script. "Fine," he said, adjusting papers, a nervous habit I knew well. "We need to discuss your role at Nextcore. As co-founder and CTO." Melissa shifted. Gary gripped his folder tighter. "As an employee," Jacob corrected, his voice sharp. "And that role is terminated. Effective immediately." The words lingered. I counted 3 heartbeats before answering. "On what grounds?" "Performance issues, lack of teamwork, and creating a hostile workplace." He lifted a document, pretending to read. "We've had multiple complaints about your erratic behavior and failure to fit the new structure." "Complaints from who?" "That's confidential," Melissa cut in, speaking for the first time. "But they're well documented." I locked eyes with her, the woman I'd mentored, welcomed into our home. She didn't blink. "How long?" I asked her directly. "Excuse me? How long have you been sleeping with my husband?" Gary choked. Jacob's face reddened. "That's the kind of baseless claim proving your behavior," he said coldly. "You're paranoid, Caroline. Seeing plots where there are none. So Melissa's hand on your shoulder is just business. The cabin trips, the late-night meetings. You're embarrassing yourself," he said, glancing at Gary. "No, you are. But go on with your performance." His jaw tightened. I wasn't supposed to be calm, wasn't supposed to challenge their story. My phone recorded it all from my pocket. "It's decided," he said, pushing a packet across the desk. "Termination is immediate. 2 weeks severance, health insurance for 30 days. He paused, smirking cruelly. "Keep your old laptop. For old time's sake." That laptop, my 2019 MacBook Pro with every original code line, every algorithm, the heart of this company. He thought he was tossing me scraps. He didn't know it was a weapon. "Generous," I said, voice flat. "We think so," Melissa added. "Given the circumstances." "You mean stealing my company?" "Nobody's stealing," Jacob snapped. "You're a minority shareholder, removed for documented issues. Your equity stays, but its value depends on the company's success under new leadership." "New leadership being Melissa," I said. "The board will decide," Jacob replied. The board he'd turned against me for months, ready to approve his every move. "Is that all?" I asked. Jacob seemed thrown by my calm. He'd expected tears or rage, not this quiet resolve. "One more thing, personal," he said, his smile cruel. I've filed for divorce. Papers arrive at the house tomorrow. Cleaner to handle both at once, work and marriage. The room spun, but I stayed steady. Even knowing it was coming, the words carved me out. How efficient, I said. I'm moving out tonight, he went on, like it was nothing. You keep the house for now. Lawyers will sort the assets. Our lawyers. Already split, already done. Anything else? My voice sounded far away, not mine. Security will escort you to grab your things, Gary said, almost apologetic. Standard protocol. I took the termination packet without a glance and grabbed my old laptop bag, placed there like a prop for his show. Caroline, Jacob called as I turned to go. I paused, back to him. You're brilliant, always have been. But brilliance without business savvy, without playing the game, only gets you so far. I faced him, meeting his gaze. You're right, Jacob. I didn't play the game. I was too busy building the company you're about to ruin. His smirk wavered. Melissa's hand returned to his shoulder, claiming him. Security's outside, Gary mumbled. Tony and Marcus, guards I'd known for 3 years, waited in the hall, looking uneasy. Morning, guys, I said lightly. Ready? Walking through the office felt unreal. Every glance was a judgment. Some avoided my eyes, complicit. Others looked confused, seeing their CTO marched out like a thief. My original team looked gutted. Sarah half stood as I passed. I shook my head, and she sank back. In my office, former office, I had 10 minutes to pack. I slowly boxed personal items, a mug from our first product launch, a team photo, a bug-shaped stress ball from the devs. I left the awards, certificates, our first dollar framed on the wall. Let them sit as relics of what Jacob broke. That's it, I told Tony, who seemed like he wanted to say sorry but couldn't. The elevator ride down felt like losing my life. Past the lobby, past Emma's wide-eyed stare at reception, through the glass doors I'd chosen for their symbolism of openness. January air stung my face, crisp and clear. Behind me, Nextcore's building loomed in Seattle's gray sky, holding everything I'd built and lost in 3 years. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, check your email, see, Melissa. I deleted it without reading her smug message. Another buzz. My calendar, system maintenance, 10 minutes. I glanced at the building, then walked to my car, setting the laptop bag gently on the passenger seat. 10 minutes until my code triggered. 10 minutes until they learned what happens when you betray the one who built it all. My car felt like a sanctuary, but I couldn't drive yet. The laptop bag sat heavy as I stood by the driver's door, watching my phone's clock tick. 9:08, 2 minutes left. I placed the bag in the car and opened my encrypted messaging app. Just one word on the screen, pending. 9:09, a car door slammed above in the garage. Normal office sounds continued, unaware the company's digital core was about to shift. The concrete pillar beside my car had a crack I'd noticed when we moved in. I joked with Jacob it symbolized breaking barriers. Now it looked ready to split open. 9:10, my phone vibrated. The app's status flipped to active. Messages flooded a hidden partition. Firewall rules changed. Port 443. Authentication timeout set, 30 seconds. Log rotation sped up, 2-minute cycles. Backup checks disabled. Monitoring delays activated. Each tweak was small, harmless alone, but together, catastrophic. Like loosening a bridge's bolts one turn at a time. It holds until it doesn't. I got in but didn't start the car. I drove up the garage ramps slowly, windows down, listening. At street level, I heard the shift in the building's pulse. More people moved behind ground floor windows, their steps urgent. Rain had started, a Seattle drizzle unsure if it was mist or drops. I parked in a loading zone across the street, hazards on, and stepped out. The rain felt cleansing, washing away Jacob's cologne, the office's sterile air, the weight of fake corporate respect. Standing on the sidewalk, face tilted to the sky, I felt free for the first time in months. No more faking sleep when Jacob came home at 3 a.m. No more forced smiles as my work was stolen. No more silencing myself for a piece already gone. My phone buzzed, external probe detected. Source, Moscow. Right on time. My vulnerabilities were blood in the water, and the sharks were circling. Not random hackers, professionals who watch for cracks. A cybersecurity firm showing weakness was like a bank vault left open. Through the rain, I saw the lobby stir. The guard, once reading a paper, was now on his phone, gesturing wildly. The receptionist typed frantically, likely swamped with client calls about system glitches. 9:14, developers rushed past windows toward elevators. 2 from my old team were nearly running. My phone showed why, database response time up 400%. Cascading delays started. My code didn't destroy, it disrupted. Security checks slowed fourfold, clogging processes, creating bottlenecks, triggering more checks. A perfect spiral of chaos. 3 people burst from the entrance, phones to ears. Gary from HR, folder gone, looked like the building was burning. It kind of was. No, he said into his phone. The client portal's down. They can't access anything. The portal, our flagship, let Fortune 500 clients monitor security live. If it was down, phones were exploding. 9:16, more staff moved between floors, frantic. Someone dropped papers near a window, no one stopped to help. The corporate dance was collapsing. My phone updated, Beijing probe detected. London probe detected. Sao Paulo probe detected. The global hacker community noticed. Nextcore, the breach prevention giant, was flashing its own flaws to anyone skilled enough to see. A shepherd whose dogs turned to sheep. A taxi driver pulled up. You okay, miss? You're soaked. I'm perfect, I said, meaning it. He shook his head and drove off, probably thinking I was nuts. Maybe I was, standing in rain, watching Jacob's empire crack, feeling calm joy. Sanity's relative. 9:18, the lobby was mayhem. Jacob, down from his executive throne, stood by reception, gesturing wildly. His CEO polish was fading. Melissa, in her red dress, looked less commanding, more exposed. Someone ran across the lobby, laptop tucked underarm. Elevators flashed between floors as teams scrambled against an invisible threat. My phone reported SSL validation failing. Authentication memory leak growing. Moscow probe successful. Admin credentials grabbed. I smiled. Some Russian hacker was probably celebrating, breaching Nextcore in minutes. The stolen credentials were real but limited, enough for panic, not ruin. I wasn't vicious, just exact. 9:20, rain poured, but I stayed. Through the wet haze, I saw a whiteboard dragged into the lobby. They were coordinating on paper since digital systems failed. Like fighting a tsunami with napkins. Jacob paced, phone in hand, running his fingers through his hair, his telfer losing control. I'd seen it in our startup days, when I'd fix what broke. 9:22, a news van arrived, faster than expected. A cyber attack on a security firm was instant news. The reporter adjusted her raincoat as her cameraman set up. My phone buzzed with another text from an unknown number, likely Jacob or Melissa. I deleted it unread. Then, Tel Aviv probe detected. Mumbai probe successful. Toronto infiltration underway. The world was watching Nextcore crumble, roasting marshmallows over the flames. Through the chaos, I saw Sarah on the 3rd floor, still at her desk, staring at her screen. She knew this wasn't random. Our eyes met through the rain. She pressed her hand to the window, a goodbye or apology for the lunches that stopped, the friendship crushed by corporate games. I raised my hand back, then turned to my car. 9:24, driving away, I saw a police car and another news van in my rearview. By tonight, Nextcore would trend everywhere. Cybersecurity giant falls to hackers. Headlines would write themselves. Rain tapped my windshield as I left the chaos. My phone buzzed with updates, each confirming my code worked perfectly. Not breaking, just exposing. Not attacking, just unlocking doors that should have been secure. Jacob's empire, built on my foundation, was collapsing, and he couldn't call me to fix it. The irony made me laugh, a real, startling laugh. For the first time in months, I felt alive. My phone exploded with calls, not just notifications now, urgent, old-school rings demanding answers. Richard Thompson's name flashed first. I pulled into a coffee shop lot, rain pounding my car, and stared at his name. 12 rings, then voicemail. It rang again. I answered. "Caroline, thank God," Richard said, voice tight, not the cool investor who doubted me. "What's happening?" "Nextcore's infrastructure is collapsing." I wouldn't know. I was fired this morning. What? Impossible. You saved Pacific Financial 3 days ago. Ask Jacob. He said I wasn't needed. But the attacks started right after. He paused, connecting dots. Caroline, please. Clients are bailing. Our portfolio's bleeding. Can you fix it? I'm locked out, Richard. No access to the platform I built. I can't help even if I wanted to. He swore, a first. This will ruin everything. Everything. I hung up. Paul Harrison called next, from Pacific Financial, the company I'd saved. Caroline, we're pulling our contract. We can't stay with a breached security firm. The board's in crisis mode. This is catastrophic. I get it, Paul. How did this happen? Your 2 a.m. call about our vulnerabilities, you saw this coming in your own system, didn't you? I should go, Paul. If you start a new firm, call me. We'll sign on first. Calls flooded in, investors, clients, ex-colleagues, reporters with my number. I sent them to voicemail, watching messages stack up like snow. Jacob's name appeared at 10:47 a.m. I let it ring 4 times before picking up. Caroline, get back to the office now, he said, no pleasantries, voice raw with panic. Security escorted me out, remember? Stop it. The system's crashing. We're losing everything. Your code, it's the only way to fix this. My code's not the issue, Jacob. Then what is? These vulnerabilities came from nowhere. The timing. Bad timing, I said. Maybe keeping the system's architect would have helped. Caroline, please. His voice cracked. I know this morning was rough, but this is bigger than us. Our company's dying. Your company. You made that clear. I'll reinstate you. Full control. We'll figure it out later. Reporting to Melissa? Silence. Then, Melissa's handling operations. Is she handling this well? Are her protocols saving the day? This isn't about her. No, the operations head's irrelevant to an operational collapse. Muffled voices, then Melissa grabbed the phone. Caroline, this is low. Whatever grudge you have, innocent people are suffering. Our employees? The ones who watched me get paraded out? That was protocol. That was a show. I cut her off. You wanted me humiliated. Now you get to fail publicly. Poetic, right? Jacob took the phone. Russians are in our systems. Actual Russians, Caroline, stealing client data. Do you get what this means? It means you should have prioritized security over pushing out your co-founder. I'm begging you. His voice broke, a first. Jacob never begged, he charmed, schemed, demanded, but never begged. I can't help, Jacob. You cut my access. I'll give you full admin rights now. Remote login, anything. And tamper with the scene? The FBI will love that. The FBI? His voice spiked. We haven't, they're not. You didn't call them? A cyber attack on a Fortune 500 security firm and no federal report? That'll look great in the investigation. He made a sound close to a sob. My phone beeped, another news station. I've got to go, Jacob. Good luck. Caroline, wait. I hung up, answered the news call. Miss Martinez, about Nextcore's breach. You were CTO until this morning. Comment on the timing? No comment. But the coincidence? No comment. I silenced my phone and drove home through streets that felt brighter. The rain stopped, leaving everything sparkling. My house, soon just mine, felt warm, inviting. I made tea and opened my personal laptop, one Jacob never knew about. News was exploding, Nextcore Solutions hit by major cyber attack. Cybersecurity firm breached. Clients abandoned ship. Tech blogs feasted. Leaked internal messages showed the chaos, error screenshots, lobby whiteboard photos, even a video of Jacob yelling in the garage. My silent phone showed 47 missed calls, climbing fast. I checked my encrypted partition. Attacks hit from 17 countries. Each hacker thought they'd found a flaw, not knowing I'd left doors ajar. Clients fled fast. Pacific Financial's exit sparked a chain reaction. If Nextcore couldn't secure itself, how could it protect others? By noon, 70% of major contracts invoked termination clauses. Investors were worse. Richard Thompson didn't just pull funding, he publicly called out Nextcore's core security failures. Others followed, hammering nails into the coffin. At 1 p.m., the FBI's statement hit, federal authorities are probing a major breach at Seattle's Nextcore Solutions. Companies using Nextcore should switch to alternative security measures immediately. That was the death blow. No firm could survive the FBI telling clients to jump ship. I checked Nextcore's stock tracker. They'd gone public 6 months ago, Jacob's big move. The stock opened at $47. Now it was $12, plummeting fast. Sarah texted, he's crying in the server room. Actually crying. Melissa's locked in her office. Everyone's polishing their resumes. Another text, unknown number, Tom from security. Sorry about this morning. We knew it was wrong. Jacob's getting what he deserves. At 2:30, China's state media pounced, blasting American cybersecurity failures with Nextcore as the prime example. The global embarrassment was complete. I shut my laptop and brewed more tea. Outside, sunlight pierced the clouds, making Seattle's wet streets shimmer like silver. My phone showed 132 missed calls. Investors, clients, media, unknowns, and Jacob's name, pulsing like a frantic heartbeat. Each ignored call felt like a small win, a reclaiming of every moment he'd dismissed me, interrupted me, stolen my work. He wanted to erase me. Now my absence was the headline. The evening news led with Nextcore. They dug up Jacob's photo from a tech conference, boasting about unbreakable security 2 weeks ago. The irony stung everyone. The big question, the anchor said, is how a cybersecurity firm could be so exposed to the attacks it promised to stop. Former employees, anonymous, say the co-founder and tech architect was fired just before the breach began. My LinkedIn photo flashed, professional, half-smiling, confident. Caroline Martinez could not be reached for comment. No, I couldn't. I was too busy watching an empire collapse, one line of code at a time. 3 days after Nextcore's crash hit the news, GlobalSec CEO called me. I was in pajamas at noon, in my home office. Miss Martinez, David from GlobalSec. Straight talk, we need someone who gets predictive threat detection. Your Pacific Financial save proves it. Can you consult? I wanted to say no, to take time to heal. But the mortgage, lawyer fees, and starting over at 38 loomed. I'm listening. $5,000 a day, 10-day minimum, possible extension. We need our systems audited now. I nearly spilled my coffee. That was more than a month's pay at Nextcore. When do you need me? Tomorrow? That's how my freelance career kicked off, not planned, but born from companies desperate to avoid being the next Nextcore. Word spread fast in Seattle's tech scene. The woman who saved Pacific Financial was available, and everyone wanted to plug their security gaps. A second client called during GlobalSec's audit. Then a third. In 2 weeks, I was swamped, turning down contracts. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jacob tried to wipe out my career, but he made me a legend, the CTO who left before the disaster, the only one who could have stopped it. I turned Jacob's old study into my office. Out went his unread leather books and excellence awards, replaced by multiple monitors, a server rack, and a coffee machine for 18-hour days. Tech news became my guilty pleasure. Over morning coffee, I read about Nextcore's fall. Nextcore loses 3 more clients. Toxic leadership exposed. From $8 million to zero, a warning. TechCrunch ran a brutal piece with anonymous employee quotes. Someone, probably Sarah, described how Jacob undermined his co-founder. Comments tore him apart, ego over expertise. You don't fire your tech genius and expect to survive. The Seattle Times charted Nextcore's collapse with a stock price graph diving to nothing. A photo showed Jacob leaving the office, aged a decade in 2 months, gray stubble, wrinkled shirt, hollow eyes. 6 weeks post-attack, Melissa's exit hit the news. A small tech gossip blurb, operations head Melissa Rodriguez leaves Nextcore amid crisis. Sarah texted, "You should have seen it." Jacob called her incompetent publicly, blamed her operational excellence for the breach. She threw her laptop at him. Security stepped in. I felt a pang, not sympathy, but understanding. Melissa thought she was untouchable, unlike me. Now she knew what it felt like to be tossed aside. Her LinkedIn vanished 2 days later when a startup considered her. Google searches tied her to Nextcore's failure. She was untouchable. The divorce papers arrived Thursday morning via a nervous process server, relieved when I signed without fuss. Sandra reviewed them that day. He's not fighting, she said, surprised. You get the house. Joint accounts split 50/50ths. He waives claims to your future earnings. And Nextcore shares? She laughed grimly. Worthless. Your 48% of nothing is nothing. The financials shocked me. Nextcore, once $8 million, was under $2 million and sinking. The office lease was worth more than the company. He's trying to sell, Sandra said. Shopping it for pennies, but no takers. Who buys a hacked cybersecurity firm? Jacob called once during the divorce. Sandra said to document it, so I answered. Caroline, he said, voice drained. This isn't about the company. Then what? I want to apologize. I stayed silent, letting it hang. I know I was wrong, how I treated you, ended us. I got lost in the growth, the CEO image. Melissa made me feel bigger than I was. And now? Now I'm nothing. The board ousted me as CEO. I'm a figurehead with worthless shares in a dead company. Wanting sympathy? No, closure, maybe forgiveness. I can't give you either, Jacob. I know. But I see now what I threw away, what I ruined. You are the company's soul, and I cut it out. Yes, I said. You did. He breathed heavily. The code, the vulnerabilities were too perfect, too precise. Accusing me? No, I'm saying I get it. In your shoes, I'd have done the same, or worse. I have to go, Jacob. Take care, Caroline. That was our last direct talk. The divorce finalized a month later. I kept my maiden name, Martinez, never having taken his legally, despite his assumptions. Nextcore kept spiraling. Employees fled daily. The Seattle office, once 60 strong, dwindled to 15. The Portland branch closed, and they tried subleasing the Seattle space. The FBI investigation wrapped up. No proof of internal sabotage, my code was too clean, but they found those fake companies Jacob and Melissa paid. The FBI was very curious. Richard Thompson called as Nextcore neared its end. We're writing it off, he said. $8 million, gone. My partners can't believe I missed this. You saw what Jacob wanted you to see. No, I bought the story, a charming CEO, his girlfriend, and a tech partner doing the real work. It's tech's oldest tale, and I fell for it. What's next? Bankruptcy. Assets sold off. Your platform might be bought cheap by someone who sees its value. And Jacob? Unemployable in tech. The failure and FBI probe finished him. He's moving back to Ohio, to his parents. Back to where he swore he'd never return, the ambitious kid from Columbus, defeated. My business, Secure Guard Solutions, soared. In 2 months, I earned more than my Nextcore salary. Companies wanted the woman who survived tech's biggest betrayal. One evening, reviewing a San Francisco contract, Sarah texted, "The office is empty. Locks change tomorrow." She meant the era was over. The company, our dream, was dead. I poured wine and stood on my deck, staring at Seattle's skyline. Somewhere, my code lingered in dead systems. Jacob was packing. Melissa was rebuilding from ashes. I was alone but not lonely, broken but not destroyed. My contracts meant a future on my terms, no partners, no betrayals. The wine tasted of victory, sharp and sweet. A soft knock, not the doorbell, came past 10 p.m., 3 months after Nextcore's fall. Through the peephole, I nearly dropped my wine. Jacob stood there, not the smug CEO, but a shadow. Uncombed hair, a wrinkled polo with a bleach stain from our dating days, no wedding ring, just pale skin where it used to be. "Hello, Jacob. Can we talk?" His voice broke. "We have lawyers for that. Not divorce. Nextcore. What's left of it? Why would I care? I'm begging." The words dropped like rocks. The company's dying, Caroline. 2 weeks of capital left, maybe 3 if I skip my pay, which I have. Not my problem. I know. Just hear me out. 5 minutes. Curiosity, or maybe the thrill of his defeat, made me step aside. He entered, awkward in our old living room, now mine, terracotta walls, cozy furniture, no trace of him. "Sit," I said, pointing to the couch. He perched nervously. I stood. "The FBI cleared us of criminal charges," he said. "But they found Melissa's fake consulting fees. I'm facing investor lawsuits." "She planned it. You signed the checks." She said it was normal, emergency funds. I was dumb enough to trust her. "You stole from your own company." I was manipulated by someone I thought. He stopped, raking his hair. "She's gone. Fled to Texas, working at her uncle's car lot. Melissa, Nextcore's operations star, now selling cars in Houston." "What do you want, Jacob?" He pulled a folder from his bag, hands shaking. I'm offering 48% of Nextcore, full shareholder rights, board seat, total tech control. I laughed sharply. 48% of nothing is nothing. Not if you return. Your platform's incredible. Those vulnerabilities, they weren't random. They were surgical. Our eyes locked. He knew. Accusing me? No, I'm saying someone who could craft those could fix them, make the platform unstoppable. Why 48%? Why not 50? Investors need me in technical control. But you'd have veto power on big decisions, like true partners, how it should have been. I stared out at the city lights, letting him wait. His offer, everything I'd wanted, should have felt better. It felt empty. Melissa's gone? I asked, back turned. Forever. I'll put it in writing. No involvement, ever. My tech decisions? Total control. I won't touch the core systems if you say so. The remaining employees, do they know you're here? The 12 left? They sent me. Sarah said I threw away the company's best asset out of ego and stupidity. Sarah, still in my corner. I want full access to real financials, not your doctored versions. Done. And a written statement you acknowledge me as the Cortex architect. Yes. And, Jacob, I faced him. If you ever undermine me again, I'm gone. And I take the platform legally. His face paled. How could you? Like I made vulnerabilities look like hacker errors. Don't underestimate me again. He nodded. I never should have. We reviewed his proposal for 2 hours. His lawyers had it airtight, my demands, plus retroactive benefits, mispay, and a clause needing my approval for any company sale. When do you need an answer? I asked. Yesterday. But take your time. I have no right to rush you. He paused at the door. Caroline, this doesn't undo my betrayal, the affair, how I erased you from your own work. I don't expect forgiveness. Good, because you won't get it. I know. But maybe we can build something new, not as spouses, but partners who learned a hard lesson. After he left, I called Sandra. He offered what? She gasped. Caroline, this is huge. Near equal control. Is it legit? I'll check tomorrow. But it seems solid. The question is, do I want to go back? Did I? My consulting firm was booming. I picked my clients, set my hours. Why return to that pain? But my platform, my code, my vision, sat unused in a dying company, its potential fading, its solutions locked away. I texted Sarah, Jacob came to see me. She replied instantly, please come back. We need you. The platform needs you. I'll make sure no one disrespects you again. Monday morning, I stepped back into Nextcore after 3 months. The office felt like a ghost town, empty desks, dark rooms, no one at reception. The 12 remaining employees gathered in the old break room, now a makeshift control hub. They stood as I walked in. Sarah stepped up. Welcome back. We've got a system status report ready when you are. Where's Jacob? In the small conference room. He said he'll stay out of your way unless you call. Wise move. He was letting me take charge. I spent the morning digging into the damage. It was worse than I thought, systems held together by patches and hope. But my core architecture still stood strong. Give me 72 hours, I told the team. We'll be more than functional, we'll be better than ever. The work was grueling but familiar. Each line of code greeted me like an old friend. The vulnerabilities I'd left were still there, waiting. I sealed them, turning weaknesses into strengths. By Wednesday, the platform sang. Not just working, beautiful. Time away had shown me upgrades I'd missed before. Jacob appeared at the server room door. "Monitors are green," he said softly. "First time since January. They'll stay green." "Thank you." I met his gaze. "This isn't for you. It's for what this platform can do: solve problems, protect data." "I know." "Good. Let me work." He left. I dove back into my screens, coding like the early days on coffee-stained napkins. But now, I was building something truly mine. The platform's revival drew eyes fast. Within a week, Pacific Financial called me, not Jacob, directly. "Caroline, Paul Harrison. You're back at NextScore? Are the vulnerabilities gone?" "Everyone, plus new defenses stronger than before. We'll return as clients, but only if you personally guarantee the security." I glanced at Jacob, pretending not to eavesdrop. "Send the contract to me. I'll review it myself." My first board meeting with new power was set for Monday. I arrived early, taking the seat opposite Jacob's usual spot. Equal, opposing. Message sent. Richard Thompson arrived first, shocked to see me. "Caroline, you're really back?" 48% ownership makes it worth it," I said. His eyes widened. 48%. One vote from control. Jacob walked in, cleaner than at my house, shaved, pressed shirt, but his confidence was gone. "Caroline has full tech control and veto power on big decisions." Board members trickled in, stunned by the shift. When Jacob started the meeting, I cut in. First, the new structure. I oversee all tech decisions, hiring, and platform development. Jacob handles business, but core product changes need my approval. "That seems," a member began. "Non-negotiable," I said. "That's why I'm here. If you don't like it, I walk with my 48%. Silence. They knew without me, they had nothing. "Well," Richard said, "tell us about recovery." I shared my vision, not just fixing, but transforming. The attack exposed our flaws. We'd use that to build a platform that survived the worst and came out stronger. "It's brilliant," Richard said. "But will clients trust us again?" "They will," I said. "We'll be open about our lessons, not details. We're the security firm that learned from failure. That's worth more than fake perfection." Jacob spoke. "I think Caroline means." I said what I meant, I interrupted. No translation needed. His face reddened, but he nodded. "My apologies." The room felt the shift. Jacob wasn't untouchable anymore. I wasn't his sidekick, I was his equal, maybe more. Over weeks, Jacob tested limits. He scheduled a CTO candidate interview without telling me. I walked in mid-meeting. "Thanks for coming," I told the candidate, "but there's no CTO role open while I'm here." The candidate looked lost, glancing at Jacob. "Miscommunication," Jacob said smoothly. "No," I said. "My decision." After the candidate left, Jacob snapped. "You humiliated me. You went behind my back. How's it feel?" He proposed cutting the dev team's equipment budget. I called an all-hands and overruled him. "Tech investment isn't optional," I said. "We're doubling the equipment budget. Quality tools make quality products." "We can't," Jacob began. "We can. Pacific Financial's contract covers it." Sarah hid a grin. Debs looked relieved, tired of outdated gear while Jacob splurged on his office. By month 3, we regained 4 major clients. Each contract had my personal security review, my signature as the quality seal. Tech blogs dubbed it the Caroline effect, the comeback led by the ousted woman. New clients wanted a battle-tested platform, its failure now its strength. We need a New York office, Jacob said in a planning meeting. First, we strengthen our core, I shot back. Expansion distracted you last time. Distracted me from what? From knowing a strong tech foundation matters more than flashy appearances. The room stilled. Everyone knew I meant his affair with Melissa, his obsession with image over substance. Month 4, alone in the office late, reviewing stellar quarterly reports, Jacob spoke up. You did it. Did what? The vulnerabilities, the attack. You planned it. I set my pen down, meeting his eyes. That's a big claim. Not a claim, an acknowledgement. The timing, the precision, how the flaws vanished when you returned. Only you could do that. Why not tell the authorities? He laughed, bitter. No proof. You're too clever. And I deserved it. You destroyed my life, I said softly. Stole my work, humiliated me, betrayed our marriage and partnership for someone who ditched you when things got tough. I know. Do you? Do you get what it was like, knowing you and Melissa plotted my downfall while I slept beside you? Watching my work credited to others? Being escorted out like a criminal? His hands gripped the desk. I was a fool, arrogant, selfish. I threw away the best part of my life for an ego trip and someone who flattered me. Yes, I said. You did. Silence settled. The platform's worth $12 million now, he said. $4 million above our peak. Your 48% is worth more than the whole company was. Money wasn't the goal, Jacob. Then what? Respect. Recognition. Knowing I was never your sidekick. I built this. You did, he said, eyes locked on mine. Everyone knows it now. 6 months in, we held a company party, not at a fancy venue, but in the office with our 35 employees. I stood alone at the front, the tech founder who saved Nextcore. Nextcore fell because we forgot our strength, I said, looking at Jacob. Tech isn't about image or politics. It's about building what works, protects, and matters. The applause was real. Sarah led it, but everyone joined, even Jacob. Later, cleaning up, Jacob approached. For what it's worth, you're the most brilliant person I know. I wish I'd seen that before I lost what mattered. You didn't lose it all, I said. You've got 52% of a $12 million company. That's not what I meant. I knew, but that door shut when he chose Melissa over me, position over partnership, ego over love. Good night, Jacob, I said, grabbing my bag. Leaving the office, my office too, I felt the weight of my keys, office, server room, proof of my power. My phone buzzed, a reporter wanting to talk about tech's greatest comeback. I deleted it. The real story was too raw for headlines, beyond business or betrayal. It was about learning the underestimated hold the most power. My platform ran smoothly, securing data worldwide. My code, my creation, finally mine. Jacob learned the hard way, never underestimate the woman who built your empire. She can tear it down and build it back stronger. If this tale of brilliant revenge gripped you, hit that like button. My favorite moment was Caroline watching her code unravel Jacob's empire in real time. What was your favorite part? Share it in the comments. Want more stories like this? Subscribe and hit the bell to catch every upload.